Hi guys, it's Ryan with GPS Plumbing. Today I'm going to show you how to do a simple toilet rebuild on the most common style of toilet, and that will include doing a new tank handle, fill valve, flapper, and braided supply line. Some of the tools you'll need to complete a toilet rebuild include paper towels or old rags to dry up some of the water that'll hit the floor, a simple dish or something to catch water in, the Channellock 426s, 422s, 6-inch adjustable wrench, and needle nose pliers work well for me. So doing a simple toilet rebuild is very common. It needs to be done here in Florida with the highly chlorinated water, maybe every 5 years or so, depending on where you live, that varies. But at some point in your toilet's life, it will need to be refreshed, meaning the new parts inside the tank. So this is what the inside of a toilet tank looks like. Here is the tank handle, or it's also known as a trip lever, fill valve. Your flapper is that blue piece down there, and you can see that it's pretty bleached from the chlorinated tablets. Manufacturers of toilets and toilet parts do not recommend that you run those chlorinated tablets. They make the rubber parts and things fail more quickly, and they can also cause those rusty tank bolts on there. Here is the water shutoff valve and the water supply line. So some reasons that you may need to rebuild your toilet is that it's constantly running, or you hear it cycling on and off. You could also see some streak marks in the bowl from the water continuously running. The tank may not fill up any longer, or in some cases the fill valve may not shut off and the toilet will constantly run. Those are just a handful of the problems or the reasons why you may want to do a toilet rebuild. Here is your toilet shutoff valve. I typically always shut the water off either at the water meter or unplug the well pump, or if there's a main shutoff valve at the home that's in good condition, I will use that rather than this shutoff valve. Now, as a homeowner, a tenant, anybody living in the home should know how to shut the water off in case of an emergency, but especially if you're about to tackle a project, and more specifically a plumbing project, shutting the water off is the most important thing in your home. And fortunately here at this house, there is a good ball valve. So simply by doing that, we have now shut the water off to the house, and we will drain the pressure down by opening up this hose bib, or you can open up faucets inside the home as well. Now that the water's shut off and the pressure is drained down, we're going to start by disconnecting the water supply line. I'm going to use these 422s to loosen the fill valve nut. You may get some water out of here because it is the lowest point in the home. So have your dish ready. So we're going to use the Channellock 6-inch adjustable wrench to loosen the lower supply line nut. Homeowners insurance companies have been making us remove these PEX style supply lines in favor of the stainless braided supply lines. So I go ahead and put these in whenever I do a toilet rebuild. Next, we're going to loosen the fill valve nut using the 422s. You may get some water out of the tank, so have your bowl ready again. Now the fill valve is removed. This is what you're left with here. So we'll go ahead and disconnect this flapper as well. You can see how it's been deteriorated by not only the chlorine in the water, but specifically because this customer has the chlorine tablets in there, which again, we do not recommend. We're going to go ahead and take this guy out. Put the new water filling device together. Go ahead and put this gasket on with the bevel side down like that so it fits nicely in the hole in the tank. So now this is going to sit down into the tank, and this nut will screw on, and this is what holds it, sandwiches this between the tank between there. We're also going to go ahead and put this fill tube on. With the old fill valve out of the way and the new fill valve assembled, we're also going to go ahead and remove this old tank handle. Now, it's important to note that tank handles are reverse threads. Keep that in mind when you're replacing. Get rid of this. Now, depending on the type of toilet, you can either buy a tank handle specific to that toilet, or most tank handles are adjustable in either the way that you can bend them, or they have different mounting points. This kind we can just go ahead and bend. Again, don't forget when tightening it that tank handle nuts are reverse thread. We'll use these 426s again. Go ahead and tighten that up. I always like to give it a good push. You never know, people push on tank handles differently. You want to really stress it to make sure that it's in a good adjusted position. Go ahead and put the new fill valve in. Nut. Use the 422s to tighten up that fill valve nut. Being that it's plastic, you don't want to go too tight on it. Just make it snug. And the fill tube goes in the flush valve tube. Put the flapper on. This is where the needle nose will come in handy. Go ahead and crimp this hook so that it doesn't fly off your tank handle. Sometimes you may need to adjust the chain length as well, and with the needle nose cutting area here, you can get rid of any excess chain. Now, when adjusting a flapper chain, you don't want it super tight because it'll pull up on the flapper and it'll let water run by. And you don't want it too loose because the tank handle won't be able to activate it properly. So you want just a little bit of slack in the chain, something like that, so that the tank handle feels nice when it's flushed and it works properly. It also keeps a nice tight seal so that water doesn't get by when you don't want it to. Now that we have the inside reassembled, a new tank handle, a new fill valve, and a new flapper, we're going to move back down below. We're going to install the braided supply line. We use the 426s just to snug that upper supply line nut. You don't want to over tighten it because it is plastic. Use the 6-inch Channellock adjustable wrench to tighten the lower supply line nut. And with that, we can go ahead and turn the water back on. Make sure to close any valves in the house that you open to allow the pressure to drain down. It's always a good idea to have someone in the home when you turn the water back on, just in case something should malfunction. Go ahead and shut off the hose bibs or anything else that you use to drain the pressure down in the home. And we're gonna go ahead and turn the water back on here at the ball valve. Now that we're back inside, we have the toilet filling up. Fill valve is working properly, and you can test that by lifting up on this float. So we'll wait and see where the water level ends up on that. You can see from the factory setting, the fill valve was not adjusted correctly. Each toilet is going to be different, and this would just continue to run because the water doesn't come up high enough to allow it to shut off. So we're going to want to adjust this down and see if that was enough to correct the water level height. Now you can see the water level adjustment did help. It created enough water in the tank to allow the fill valve to shut off, but it's still a little too close to the flush valve for my liking. So we'll just adjust that down a small amount more. We'll give it another flush. Also, this is a good time to check for leaks from your connection here of the fill valve going through the tank, where the upper water supply line nut is, and the lower water supply line nut. Before you finish up, be sure to use your paper towels to go ahead and dry the angle stop, the shutoff valve, the supply line, underneath the tank, any water that may have spilled on the floor, and give a good double check for any leaks or small drips. You can only do that really by getting the area nice and dry, and then going ahead and inspecting with a small flashlight or whatever, and making sure that you don't have any leaks or drips.